Good evening and welcome to the Barnes Foundation. My name is Kathleen Green, the Curator of Public Programs here at the Foundation, and we're excited to continue our ongoing partnership with WURD Radio, tying the programming and the discussion here with the programming that's happening upstairs as part of our First Friday program. As a show of hands, can I just ask, who is this their first time to the Barnes Foundation? Awesome. Awesome. Well, welcome. Thank you so much. And for those of you that are returning, it's good to have you back. I'm going to turn things over to Monica Lewis, and I look forward to seeing most of you, if not all of you, upstairs for the Arpeggio Jazz Ensemble as they do their tribute to Marvin Gaye. Please help me in welcoming Monica Lewis, General Manager for WURD.
We certainly appreciate you being here with us to celebrate what's going on, Philly's next generation in Black music. As you can see, we have a wonderful panel here. We will have a wonderful program. And after the program, you are invited to continue to enjoy this beautiful place called the Barnes Foundation. Go upstairs, hang out. There will be music from the Arpeggio Jazz Ensemble up there playing the music of Marvin Gaye. Food, little beverages, special beverages. So go up and enjoy. So we thank you again for joining us. I now welcome Dr. Aaron Smith, the rapping professor, and sincerely, Syreeta, to the stage, who will take it from there. Thank you for coming. Let's give them a round of applause.
Check, check, check. Okay. How y'all doing? Oh, no. How y'all doing? Okay, I like that. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I don't know. This is beautiful. This is so beautiful. They must be used to this kind of luxury. I'm not. This is. I've been upgraded. This is the nicest place I've been in a little while. So I'm very happy to be here. In the words of Coming to America.
Right. So shout out to the Barnes Foundation for hosting us, for having us. They've been working with WURD. We've been working as partners, as just supporters of one another, and you can see why, right? This is a beautiful space. This isn't the first event that WURD has had here, and so. Between the Barnes Foundation, between our sponsors, Moravia Health, Pico, Comcast, all of them have kind of come together to make tonight possible, and we appreciate that. We appreciate you for tuning in as you do regularly and, keeping both Dr. Aaron Smith and I, keeping him rapping, keeping me lounging in the lounge, us doing what we do. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Clap it up.
So we're here to talk about what's going on.
Yes, we can do some introductions first so the good people can know the good people we're talking to.
So the way I like to do it on the lounge is, and some of you have been on the lounge, first question I ask is, let folks know who you are and what you do. So let's go ahead and do that. I'd like for you to be able to tell people in your own words. So I'm going to pass my mic off so you have it.
Hey, y'all. I'm Solomon Thorne. I'm the creator and host of a show called Songs for the Soul, Philly. Yes, give it a round. Yes, please do. Songs for the Soul, Philly is a show I created to heal, uplift, and edify the soul. Like I said, I'm the host. I have features at the show, musical features, poets, artists come and share their work with the audience. It happens multiple times a month. And okay.
Testing. All right, there we go. How you doing? I'm Sunny D. I'm a Philly musician, drummer, and the creator of the Female Takeover and host. It's an event where we have female artists, musicians, we have a live painter, we have spoken word. It's just all about female empowerment, putting females on a map that you may not see. It's a male-dominated world, especially in the music industry. So we tend to present a platform for females.
My name is DJ Geek. I am a DJ, clearly. But I am a co-producer on the Female Takeover, and just really here to talk about that work that we do. I also am an event curator just around the city. And I think in all of the events that I do, but most particularly Female Takeover, it's really just about highlighting the underground, highlighting being a part of that underground music scene that Philly does so well, and just making sure that we shine the light on artists that are kind of up and coming and really making a name for themselves in the city, and particularly those that are in industries that don't always welcome them as much as others. Thank you.
DJ Geek is also an educator.
I am also an educator, yes. I'm here for the DJ part.
Tell them everything.
Educators.
Hey everyone, my name is Rashaun Williams. I am also a DJ. I go by the name of DJ Reezy. When I'm not DJing, I'm community organizing, and I'm educating in a public high school.
Good evening, everyone. I am Kayla J. I'm the producer of the Midday for WURD, and I have the pleasure of taking those hard conversations that we have on WURD and translating it into the music that you all love, and you call me about and you tell me to play. And then, of course, on the holidays at WURD, I'm the host of the Millennial Hour Mixdown. All right. Yes. But something you don't know, I am also a musician. I'm a drummer. Hey.
Well, I'd like to get right into it in the spirit of Marvin Gaye. One of the lines I was thinking about today. Who went to the rally? That good brother Solomon Jones. Clap it up for yourselves. Or if you watched it online, the controversy with the police officers posting the insensitive and racist post about our community, and we were moving to take the 328 members who are identified off the streets until further investigation. So we said 328, time to take them off the street. And I thought about the line that Marvin Gaye said, "Don't punish me with brutality." Right? And how the lyrics are still so relevant today, and you can listen, to these songs that are timeless, and how they really speak to these kind of situations that we still deal with. I think of Tupac and Changes in different songs, and I would like to know from the panelists, in what ways do you think we can further that tradition and that legacy of speaking truth to power through music, or how do you already do that in the way that you use your art? Anybody could answer.
I do it by being myself, just being a representation for people who look like me. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, I'm gonna pass the mic. I want to come back to this.
Not a problem.
Question.
Hey everybody. I want to do an interesting breakdown that I hope you all can follow. We all remember zoot suits, correct? In the Harlem Renaissance. Zoot suits were outlawed. They were actually made illegal in the 1940s. But we all know what the Harlem Renaissance did to music and culture and arts and science and activism. It inspired all of these things. It was the precursor to all of these things. Certain states and parts of states have outlawed sagging pants. Probably wondering what the relationship between zoot suits and sagging pants are. When our children express themselves, when they take culture and flip culture, they're telling their story. It's a unique truth. The same attitude that we had towards sagging pants is probably the same attitude that we had towards zoot suits. Same thing with NWA, with them making their music really unapologetic, forcing you to see really dirty truths. Institutionally, what we need to do is we need to find who these young people are who are expressing themselves in these ways, and we need to support them. Social capital, civic capital, political capital, because music industries do it. Music industries, they see these children who are expressing themselves in these ways, and they support them with their institutional backing. But does the Urban League do that? Does the NAACP go into these communities and hear the language of the people and say, you know what, continue to do express your blackness. the way that your blackness is reflected to you by America. And what we'll do is we'll surround you with mentors and adults that'll help you transition into adulthood. And when you get it right, you'll get it right. But right now, you are a medium for the people. You speak to the people. You represent the people. Let the people watch you grow, but let's help you grow. Our institutions don't do that. And so what we see now is that truth that we speak to being taken from us because we don't have the eldership guiding us to speak it the right way.
Ashe.
I think just to add to that, it's really about changing the definition of leadership and expanding our definition of leadership to include people that don't normally fit traditional modes. I think that when we push those limits and we allow people to express themselves the way they see fit, we will find that we have a lot more leaders spread across our communities than we normally notice. And maybe we kind of take the social norm and bring it into our community too, right? So there are moments when we are taught things and then we almost push it off on the next generation. Like, you have to fit this box because I had to fit this box. And so how do we shift that dynamic of leadership? And one of the ways that I think I help shift that dynamic in leadership in music is, I do traditional mainstream music, but I also do a lot of underground artists, and I make sure that in my mixes, like, I don't do mixes that are mainstream music. I do mixes that are underground artists that are speaking to some different type of truth. So I know there's enough DJs that are doing mainstream music in different genres, and so how do I really take the time to search the internet and search the underground markets to find people that are speaking their truth and present it in a way that you can accept it, and even though you never heard it, you still want to kind of jam to it because it just still feels good, because all I'm doing is identifying a different type of leader. I think when people express their art, they are leaders in that moment, and how do we create platforms like the Female Takeover that allows a different type of leader to step up to the front? Like, when you let a violinist be the main, a female violinist be the main artist and not a singer, that's a different type of leader, right? So some of our other genres, jazz, have highlighted those instruments, but how do we make sure R&B highlights the instruments? How do we make sure rap highlights the instruments? And if that's gonna be our channel, we gotta give everybody a voice in that conversation.
Anybody else? You ready?
I'm sorry, guys.
It's all good.
I still get spooked speaking in front of people for some reason lately. I think with the just with the cancel culture, I feel really stuck sometimes. Even though I know what I want to say, I kind of draw a blank occasionally, so I do apologize for that. Can you ask the question one more time?
We were just asking in terms of social activism and how you could use your medium, your platform, or your ability to influence to shift culture, not just creatively, but politically.
I think just by showing up as who you are, that's what I was gonna initially say. Just by me showing up the way that I am, I get to shift the conversation. I get to show another side of what Black art is, what Black lives are, and I just get to share something new. I think that's the main thing for me. When you show up as who you are, you start a conversation, especially if you look different. I recently went to Rehoboth for Memorial Day weekend, and it was totally white. Even the Black people, I felt like I hate to say Black people aren't Black enough or white enough or whatever,
Yeah, we saw Get Out, though. We know what you mean.
But I just felt like I was there by myself. And just walking around like this, I don't always dress like this. I go to work, I look like a guy. Granted, I do look like a guy right now, but I just have on makeup and a dress and heels. And
don't forget your earrings, brother.
I know they're there. I do feel them. But just being there, I was like, representation is so important, not just in music. I know we're here to talk about Black music and Black art and things like that, but I think it is expressing Black art, and just by me showing up in that place and being the diversity. One night I went out, I was just like, God, what am I doing here? I felt just like the way that people were like gawking at me and making me feel like just kind of weird. I was just like, I just felt really bad. I went home and felt like, shit, can I say that on? Okay, sorry.
But you just did, so.
I did.
Just keep going.
Moving forward, and we
Black Talk
But
Radio.
I felt bad, and I wasn't going to continue to dress this way while I was at the beach. I had like 2 more days left. And I was like, I need to dress this way. I need to show up this way to show people, even though they're looking at me in a certain way, just to show them that I exist and people like me exist. And maybe it'll be easier for someone else in the future.
All right.
So,
Syreeta?
Yeah, I'm glad you spoke to, and to a degree, each of you has spoken to speaking that truth to power by first standing in your own truth and your own power, right? And when we're thinking of the late, great Marvin Gaye, part of understanding what's going on in the world around us is understanding what's going on within ourselves, right? And within our own respective journeys. That's something that he did unapologetically, right? Having that transparency and that awareness, and whether it was discussing his mental health battles, his Motown experience, or just critically examining the flaws of America and its relationship with Black artists and Black music, that was something that he did. So I kind of want to dig in a little bit to each of your journeys, right? How has your personal journey influenced your approach to your platform and the way that you serve Black artists, whether it's, the female takeover, whether it's songs for soul, like whatever it is that you do, and, Kayla on the radio, how has your personal journey and relationship with music really influenced what you now carry out into the world?
My love of music started when I was about 5 years old. At church, I used to enjoy watching the drummer drum. That's all. That's all I kind of wanted to do. And I just sat and I watched him drum forever. Didn't listen to the preacher preach, just watched him drum, right? And he saw me watching him, and he told my mother that she needed to enroll me in music school. So I started at Settlement Music School and basically carried everything that I learned in my percussion classes to my life. I also played the violin in public school. So I had this love of music, just not classical music, just not jazz music, not just gospel music, but this love of music and wanting to figure out how it all came together, how the piano player and the organ player and the drummer and the guitarist, how all of them made this one beautiful sound. My favorite movie is Drumline, One Band, One Sound. And I honestly take that to my life, one band, one sound. Music is everything. It's the rhythm. It's the heartbeat of the earth. That's what I feel. So when you take all of that, one band, one sound, and I bring it to WURD, one band, one sound, I'm not just going to play pop. I'm not just going to play R&B. I'm not just going to play country music. I'm not just going to play oldies. I'm going to play a little bit of everything, because everything helps us go forward. The appreciation of our past with the recognition of the future, it'll help us be better people. So that's how I take it. It all started just by watching a drummer hit the cymbals during service, and it turned into a love. I love music. My hashtag is music nerd, Kayla J the music nerd, because I don't just focus on one thing. When you focus on one thing, you have a tendency to be stagnant. And with music, you can't be stagnant because it's ever changing, because everybody is coming out with something new.
Anyone else wants to chime in, you're more than welcome to.
It's me again. It's so funny because I feel like, I had a conversation with a friend. He's white. He was like, I feel like you should be doing more, just outside of Black music, you should be doing more like popular music. And I was like, he was like, because there's white people in your audience as well. And the audience that I serve at Songs for the Soul is very diverse. But I was like, I don't want to change what I like to just appease white people or, for them to be okay with what I'm doing. I was like, I really want to do what I want to do. I want to sing the songs that I love. And whether it's a popular song or more R&B songs, I want to just focus on what I'm doing and stay in my lane and just be cool with that. And I feel like people will come, as long as I'm being myself and doing what I'm doing, people will come along for the journey with me. So that's how I feel with that as it pertains to that.
I can say for myself, it's very similar to Kayla as far as drumming in church, watching a drummer. Actually, I started on keys, which is hilarious. But for me, feeding off of Solomon is about being myself, being me. Anywhere I go, I'm just going to be sunny. Like, people used to say, oh, your smile, it just brightens up my day, da, da, da. So when it comes to drumming, I'm just smiling. If I'm not smiling, more than likely I'm not really feeling it or having a good time. So I just like to put my passion into it. I can even say for this band I'm playing with now, starting in this band, it was kind of weird for, like, it's an all-white band, Asian lead acts, white. I'm the only black person. But they're like, you know, when you came, you just brought something different. And now everyone's laughing and enjoying on stage, interacting with each other, which they didn't have before. We could have a group chat. And they like, we never did this. And it was all about me just being sunny. So when it comes to the female takeover, I'll tell certain people, like, just be you. Just get up on the stage and do what you do. You know, you're going to leave with a new audience by being you. Like, we bring different genres of people. We may have a spoken word person, may have a rap artist, may have somebody that's saying R&B, whatever, just different genres all on the show so everyone can leave with a broader audience. And it's about doing what you do, and people gonna love you for you. If you don't, you don't. If you do, you do. But at the end of the day, you did you.
Little bars there. I don't know. I heard some bars. Go ahead, DJ Reezy.
Hey y'all. You know, I grew up listening to Baltimore Club, Jersey Club, Philly Club. I grew up really just, you know, the Wu-Tang, D-Mac, if y'all know anything about that. Going forward, I did this party called an Elevation. It stands for an Elevation Celebration. And it's singers, rappers, dancers, poets, painters. It's everybody doing everything. A rapper will get off and give it to a poet. And I'm DJing, and I'll play something to compliment the poet. And then I may stop DJing so another DJ can get on so I can go party. But the party for me is that I'm experiencing the party with the people partying. So if it doesn't move me, I don't really expect it to move the people. The spiritual responsibility at this point, to be frank and to be forward, is to activate that DNA within our people. The most powerful element, I'm trying to remember all of my points, the most powerful element to the Haitian Revolution was not just voodoo and vaudou, but it was the music. The music and the drum incited the revolution. So whenever you see the drummer boys in the Revolutionary War or the Civil War that will go out and just drum in the heat of battle, that's actually it comes from our people drumming, and the hand smacking the skin of the drum will be the footprint that we will follow in rhythm with each other. I'm giving y'all some science. So our music doesn't incite this energy. We have to unlock this energy. It's a good thing that we have trap music now, because it's locking in all of the spiritual energy that we've yet to unleash, because we need to. But our role and responsibility as musicians is to unlock this energy to incite revolution and liberation for our people.
So out of curiosity, what is the responsibility that each of you feel you have or believe that you have when it comes to your platform and what you're doing with it? And let me know if I need to rephrase it, but.
Be great. When you get up there, be as great as you can possibly be. That's pretty much it for me. Like, work hard, do everything that you can do to make it the best experience for the audience. Yeah, I feel like it starts with that.
I feel like for me and all of the spaces that I go into, it's about like the camaraderie, kind of speaking to what other people have talked about, like how do we create a space where we all feel accepted, right? Like on any given day, you have so many different anxieties that come depending on like what spaces you go into or just like what type of battles you have to fight that day. There's so many different anxieties. And so I just kind of consistently yearn for a moment where we can all just take a deep breath together, right? Like all the anxiety we're gonna fight outside of this party, if we could just come here together for a couple hours and just be good and let go of those worries, then that's a moment of self-care. And so my friends started to tell me, like, your parties are like monthly self-care, right? If I could just get there in a month, I know I'm gonna have a couple hours where I can just relax and we can have a good time. And that doesn't always have to be like a turn trap party. Sometimes it's a nice chill R&B lounge-esque party, right? But whatever that vibe is, like we all just want a little bit of empathy. We all just want a little bit of release. And so how do we just create those moments for each other? So I think that's a responsibility that we have, like you were saying, like how do we combine these energies? And we were just talking about combining some of our energies this summer, but like how do we combine it to just give as many people as possible a relief from all of the other things that are happening in the world?
I feel like I need to tell a story.
Tell us.
No,
baby.
That's when I'm making music. I feel like I need to tell a story. You know, with my platform on the midday, I have various shows. I have the Source, I have the Shamari show, I have Ask the Doctor, I have Dr. Donnie. I need to be able to tell a story. So if I can be honest, the hardest show for me to try to help tell the story was Shamari, because I wasn't sure of his approach to a lot of things. If you all listen to the Shamari show, he can go on for days about Malcolm X and the revolution, and that's wonderful. For me, that was new. So it wasn't helpful if he was going on about making sure we representing the red, black, and green, and I break out with Barry White, Never Gonna Give You Up. That wasn't going to help the Shamari show. It wasn't going to help tell his story. You know, the first thing he said to me when I sat down in the chair is, "You know African music?" I was like, "No." I don't know any African artists. I can bang on a drum if you want me to, but I don't know any artists. So for me, I take what everybody says in their script, the different shows, and I try to help their story go along. So if we're talking about police brutality, I may break out some J. Cole, Be Free. It's something new, but he's talking about police brutality. Or if Shamari's talking about police brutality and how it's affecting our black boys, I may break out with Job Work by Morgan Heritage, meaning we have work to do to make sure that our black boys are covered. So for me, I have to tell a story. And then I also have to make sure that I'm good, because the callers will tell me I don't like that song. So for me, I want to tell a story. I want to make sure that you all are entertained out there, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you something to think about, something to download, because at the end of the day, you don't have to turn me on, but you do, and I appreciate it.
Could have been anywhere in the world, but you there with Kayla J. One of the things I was thinking about in terms of the impact of telling a story and how music often could tell the soundtrack of many of our lives. Like when you hear "It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday," you might think about seeing Cooley High and when Coach Cheese died and it felt like your cousin, had left you. And today we have a lot of songs that speak to that. And I remember watching How They See Us. Who's seen that? Just when they see it. Yeah, well, whatever it's called. I'm still triggered and traumatized by the. Who saw that? By a round of applause. Just let me know if you watched it. If you didn't watch it, y'all need to watch it now. Netflix talking about the Central Park 5, Ava DuVernay. It's required watching. Same way it was required for us to watch Roots. Some of y'all remember y'all parents made y'all watch Roots. And I often say that our generation, based on the fact that the racism wasn't as overt, people left us for dead and were under the false assumption that we weren't facing the same types of enemies and devilishment that they had generations prior. And this is one of the first times that I've seen a cinematic display of what we were going through when everybody thought that the struggle was over. So I think it's very important for people to understand the way that she interplayed the music, like songs like I Got It Made and Fight the Power by Public Enemy, the ways that music spoke to us so people could understand why when NWA was saying F the police, it resonated with us so deeply. And when you watch the way the police were treating these young men, you can identify with a generation in a way that you previously might not have been able to do. So the question I pose to you is, how do you plan to tell the story of some of the newer struggles of multiculturalism, intersectionality, other forms of identity to a generation that has no idea about what people go through in this day and time, or some of the contemporary struggles that haven't yet been powerfully articulated through the medium in a way that can transform different generations? That was a lot. That's what professors do. That's what professors do.
How do you plan to bring awareness
I should have had a PowerPoint
to the different
up there,
identities?
But in terms of teaching the other generations, the struggles of today, how do you plan to use your platform, your creativity, and your artistry to teach the elders as well as the babies what we're up against right now?
I feel like it's hard to follow up the question. It was such a good question that I'm like anxious about my answers got to be good enough to it. This is DJ Geek. Shout out to the live radio listeners. We were reminded are there. This is DJ Geek. So when I think about I feel like at my age now, I've got to kind of respect the fact that I understand both. And this is an important age group, I think, at all times that has a little bit of what mommy taught me and then a little bit of what I experienced as I was growing up. And I got to play that middle ground. And I got to go back to my elders and help them to see almost every time you outgrow the music, you start hating the new music. So as a DJ, there was this moment where we went digital. And all of the older DJs were like, where's your vinyl? And you're like, I'm not carrying all of that, bro. Why would I do? That's not self-care to carry that much weight. So I'm gonna switch to the digital, okay? Because MP3s weigh 0 pounds. But there's a moment where you have to look at them and try to get your elders to respect. If you don't follow us, we're going to keep moving. The train is going to move whether you're on it or not. So being stuck where you remember is only you being complacent with your comfort. But almost every time, the train moves. And so it's just about whether you stay on it or you hop off at a stop and you stay there. And so for the youth, it's about being on the train with them and not kicking them off because you don't like what they're talking about. Like, we got to share that experience together, right? Like, we appreciate trap music. I don't listen to it every day, right? If I'm in my car, it's not what I'm blasting, but I understand what they're trying to say. And then we start to highlight the artists like J. Cole, like Kendrick Lamar, that are able to do both, right? I think they are great examples of people that have figured out how to speak to the elders while also bringing in the new. And there are R&B artists, there are the new jazz musicians that have added different types of jazz to the experience. There's all these different people. Like, we're all on the train. You know what I mean? Like, don't kick off the youth, and elders, don't step off because it don't sound good to you right now. Like, stay with us, and let's ride it out together.
That was a great answer.
That's it. That's it.
I was about to say, that was a pretty darn mic drop right there.
Yeah. One thing, it was a wonderful answer. One thing I wanted our generation to do when I was coming up, I said I really was prayerful that this will be the first generation to not hate on the next generation.
Nope.
And I said, they said, this ain't like the Negro spirituals, you know, this is gospel, and this ain't like the blues, you know, and this ain't like jazz, and this ain't like disco. That was really short-lived, but you know, this ain't like rock and roll. And I said, why every time you reach an age where you start hating your babies. And I said, I remember when hip hop was really getting hated on, being considered this passing fad. KRS-One said people still taking rapping for a joke, a passing hope. And I said, I just really hope that we have the memory when we become of age that we don't spin around and start hating people for being creative and living in their truth. And then mumble rap came, and it was a challenging time. I caught myself a couple times. The hate was good, but I think we're doing a good job because we're on that train together. Go ahead, speak to that.
So just when you think about mumble rap, I think what you guys are missing is the dancing culture associated with mumble rap.
Break it down.
So there's a physical and a spiritual connection when we all hit the same dance, whether you know it or not.
Oh, I know it.
And so mumble rap is associated, and I watch my goddaughter all the time, watch video after video of the same people doing the same dance, and she's trying to learn it. But you have to respect, like when we were Wu-Tanging in the club, we had a moment together, and it was real, and we celebrated each other. And you don't get to hate on that. Because it's not the WAP or whatever y'all used to do.
I'm Wu-Tang too. I'm not that
whatever y'all used to do, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm Wu-Tang too.
I wish the listeners could have seen your Wu-Tang.
And the fever.
But yeah, so I respect the trap music because I see how it brings them together and the dance culture that's associated with it. And a lot of the music that you hear, they're not really caring as much about the lyrics. And that's a little dangerous. Let's not go down there. But at the end of the day, there's a dance culture and a sharing that they're having that is not for us to hate on.
And I think it is important, like you said, to stay on the train, even if it's not your music, because this appreciation for lyricism is something that's only going to be transferred by somebody who came up in the golden era of hip-hop. So you have a role to play, even if it's not, quote-unquote, your time.
And that kind of reminds me of a quote that Marvin Gaye shared in a 1983 interview. And I'm going to share that quote. Kayla, it kind of ties to something you spoke to earlier about what music is for you, what it means for you. But he said once, music is universal. Music belongs to no one. Music belongs to God. So following that statement, he predicted that there would be a blending of music universally, right? Eventually leading to the removal of categories. So no pop music, no country music, no rock music, just music. That was his prediction. He felt like the categories were deeply rooted in America's history of prejudice and racism. And so we've most recently seen Lil Nas X with Old Town Road as a prime example of that. Oh, I'm gonna take my horse down the Old Town Road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. Okay, so, and that's really caused a lot of controversy, particularly in the country music category, where they rejected it and said, that's not country music. He identified it as trap country. It wasn't until, I think, Billy Ray Cyrus jumped on it, that the CMA kind of tilted their head a little bit and said, this might look like country. And so for you all, I'm curious to get your thoughts on that. Like, what is your view on music? And Kayla, you kind of shared yours as well. But do you agree with his predictions? Are we on a train that would eventually lead to music simply becoming universal? And if so, what role does the Black community in particular play with that?
So it's simple, just like you said. I agree. There's going to be a time where there are no music genres. One, for the fact that everybody is sampling from everybody. It doesn't matter which genre they're in. I've heard country songs have a Marvin Gaye back. I've heard R&B songs have a country back. I've even heard gospel songs have a hip-hop background, you know? I've heard a Lil Wayne beat in a Kirk Franklin song. So, you know, there's this chance where everybody is just going to be getting a piece of everybody just to make something beautiful.
I think what I would add to that are two things. One, I feel like if you were to think about Afrofuturism, if we get to a certain point, I think music will be more vibrational and it will fit what the music is purposed to do. So there may be music that is specific to like daycare, or there may be music that's specific to study. As we begin to integrate more genres and they bring the other instrumental elements to music together, I think music will fit more of the mood and the mode and the function of society in that particular time period, more than a genre. And the second thing that I would say is that the role that blackness plays to that is that we done did rock, jazz, that's all ours. Our challenge is institutionalizing our work. Our challenge is owning our work. It's interesting that we done made rock and we done made country, and then we got folks telling us what is not our music. And so the thing I like about hip hop so much is our exploitive use of the N-word, because it keeps it ours unapologetically without any interruption. Unfortunately, institutionally, it doesn't represent that from the top. And so as we move forward into music becoming more central, we need to figure out a way that we are going to have ownership of that. And it can't be just our use of the N-word.
Now, the rapping professor, I know you got thoughts about ownership. You want to chime in at all?
Sure. When somebody says they know you got thoughts, you better think of something. You can't be like, no, I wasn't thinking.
No, because you know what? I'm thinking about when we had that conversation on the Lounge Live, right?
No,
and we were talking about tonight, and you were really passionate, and I agreed. You had spoke to the influence that the Philadelphia artist and
Philadelphia
music
sound,
has had
yeah.
on the industry, and yet when you
No
take a
labels
step
here.
back, there's no major labels
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
and it's almost like a lot of artists, which I'm sure some of you can speak to. If not you, you may know folks, have felt like you have to leave Philly to get on and become successful, and then maybe come back, or maybe that's just it. These are just your roots, and everything else from there on you have to go find outside of Philly. And I remember you speaking to that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, it's an interesting parallel when you were just describing my comments to me. I made myself think. No, I'm just kidding. No, but sincerely, there's a parallel between the lack and need for greater degrees of self-definition and self-determination in the African-American community and this crisis of commodification of creativity, not too many syllables, I hope, in terms of not having our own here in Philadelphia. I think the term that we can relate to intergenerationally is the white man's ice is colder. Because there's people who think that in LA, the contracts are better. In New York, the support could be the type. When you have the actual talent in Philly, you feel as though you still need to bring your talent to a place without the talent. It's like going to a job and sweating and giving all the ideas and only making a percentage of what you create. So many of us do that every day without even recognizing the type of pyramid that we exist in terms of the hierarchy of creativity versus exploitation. So when I look at Philadelphia, I see this parallel between Black America and the music industry, where you would think somebody would look in the mirror and say, if we're the best bar for bar, we're the best underground bar none, why is it that we don't just do it here? But there's this lasting mentality. The reason why people walk back to plantations to be sharecroppers after Jubilee and after the emancipation. There's a mentality that needs to be changed that the level of talent can't liberate you from. And I think until Philadelphia sees themselves, New York was producing trash music for like 10 years and still consider themselves the Mecca and the greatest thing ever, and nobody was buying music from New York. But New York still had that swag. Before Bobby Shmurda and Young M.A., nobody was checking for New York like that after Dipset, and they were still like, we from New York. And we was loving Atlanta like crazy back then. But it's something about this confidence that creates the ownership, the ability for ownership. You have to view yourself as a boss. My socks say like a boss. You have to view yourself. I just want to show my socks. You got to view yourself as the type of person that could be in charge. And I think that's a challenge for us. That's why somebody who doesn't understand our culture, doesn't understand our music, but could wear a tie, could walk into a studio or walk into the backstage of a concert and sign everybody to exploitative 360 deals when they can't spit a barb or play a lick. because we just have this slave mentality where we're still looking for a master.
So you did inspire some thought. We got Sunny D want to come through with some
How you
comments.
doing, Sonny? What you're saying is true. But for me, I rep Philly everywhere I go, whatever I do, traveling, all of that. And the biggest thing for me is like Philly. We the best. Musicians,
We the best.
artists,
Sorry.
everything. Like Philly is where it's at. So for me, I wanted to create that platform for people to like, listen, you ain't got to go over there. You going to get your love here where you're from. If nobody else show you love, your hometown should show you love. So just like they say, women, all we do is bicker and egos. We can't support one another. That was another thing. Oh, so I'm going to show you that we genuinely can support you and you going to feel nothing but love. It's people that come to the female takeover and be like, oh my gosh, the energy, the vibe is just so loving. Right, it's genuine support. I'm not going to go somewhere else. I shouldn't have to go somewhere else. I go to New York. Philly in the building, Philly in the house. Right, and people, my friends come with me and they be like, dang, they really love you. Yeah, but I'm going to get that love here too. I could come around them. Sonny, yo, you here, whatever. Like, do it here. I'm not going nowhere else till I conquer my city first. That's just how I feel. And I've been told that by one of the top, what is she, vocal instructor for NDIRE, background singer, her vocal coach. She like, Sonny, I see you, but keep doing what you're doing for your city. Don't leave. You don't have to go somewhere else to be great. Be great where you at. And that's what I'm going to stick to.
And I think, oh, go ahead.
I just want to say, I love that. This is Solomon Thorne, by the way, live radio. I actually was in a really tough spot at one point. I quit my job. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I wanted to do a show. And I was just really getting sick of going to shows at that time. This was like 2.5 years ago. I was just sick of going to these shows and like people weren't lit, like the music just wasn't there. And I'm like, I cannot take this anymore. So I really wanted to, that's the reason why I really started Songs for the Soul, is because I wanted to have my voice out there. I wanted to really just have people experience soul music in Philly, just the music that I grew up with, like Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder and Aretha Franklin, you know, all those amazing artists. And this guy actually said to me, I was like, I think I need to just move to New York or move to LA or something. And he was like, if you can't do it here, like you're not gonna start doing it somewhere else. So you might as well just start doing it here. And I was like, oh man, so I have to stay in Philly. And at that time, Philly to me wasn't popping, but it was just because of where I was in life. I created the show.
Again. Say that again.
Yes, I'm not gonna say it again, but you guys did hear that. Philly is definitely popping now. I guess you're right. Yeah, something like that. So, but then I was just like, this is not lit. So, did the first show. All these people came out, and I was like, okay, like I should probably be doing this more. Kept doing the show every month, and then people just kept coming. It was just amazing, and I was creating this community of people, this network, this group of people who just wanted to share love and listen to good music and just have fun. And then all these other people started creating shows, and all these artists just came out of nowhere. Like, most of my friends are not even from Philly. Like, I have no idea where they came from. They just showed up one day, and I just started having them at the show, and I'm like, wow, just from me starting the show in Philly, all these other people who probably wouldn't have, like a lot of people were just thinking, one of my friends, Tali, she was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna leave, and like, cause she didn't have a job at one point. She was like, I'm gonna leave and go back to Haiti. And I was like, Tali, you better not leave Philly. And she stayed, she was like, I'm gonna stick around. A couple people told me to just stick around. We've been doing the show with Tali. She's always at the show. She brings the essence of Songs for the Soul. And it's just a beautiful thing if you can just hang in there, stick in there with your people, because I feel like you guys are my people. Philly is home. Philly, you guys are everything. But it's just, do it where you are. That's all I'm saying. Do it where you are, and make it happen.
So oftentimes, right, we celebrate artists when they reach certain milestones. You have awards and recognitions and all of that great stuff. And that's cool, right? But it's not often that we really step back and ask ourselves, are we taking care of our artist, right? If we're looking at you all and as artists, as vessels, what happens when the vessel is emptied, right? When the vessel is having to bear that responsibility of knowing what's going on and of using their platform to speak to what's going on or to be that relief, what happens then, right? And so Marvin Gaye, right, that was something that he really went through, right? So he was very open about his mental health issues. He dealt with manic depression. He once attempted suicide via cocaine overdose and admitted that, and I'll quote him here, "I'm pretty depressed most of the time." He identified the source of his depression as being the result of his empathy for humanity and his feelings for the world, but also felt it most during the times where he did not feel so successful. So he once said, "Because I didn't feel loved, I felt useless." So what has been your own experience with similar feelings or that what you've witnessed through the artists that you all encounter on a day-to-day basis? Because we got to talk about the mental health issue of artistry, right? And of serving the community in such a way where it's tied to your mental, your emotional, your everything. We're at the go. Go ahead, DJ Reezy.
So here we go, y'all. Hey, y'all, this is Reezy.
Take a deep breath.
So whatever you believe, music is spiritual. What artists are doing is they are receiving the world for what the world is. Their body is like performing alchemy, and they have this ability to take everybody's joy or everybody's pain or everybody's whatever and allow you to be free from whatever is holding you back. And that's what an artist does. But what I can't, there's no words that I can use because I do it too, and I feel that. And so you artists do go into, you know what it's happening now, even in explaining it, because that is the process. So there are a few things that I want to say to that. One is that we do need to just talk to artists like, yo, just come to the crib, tell me what you're thinking about. Tell me how what you've seen on the news has affected you, because not only is it stimulating and activating you spiritually and intellectually and physically so that you create this wonderful art so that 300 people are now able to breathe when they go home, but you're not because you gave them themselves. You took the devil out of them. So talk to me. Talk to me to tell me what's going on with you, because you're performing all this alchemy. That's one. The two is that we need to start treating artists as if they are the intellectual and spiritual leaders of today into tomorrow. Are you good? Because they are the social medium for people to communicate and understand things that are very hard. And the second is that, the third is that we need to, and it is just what it is. We actually need to go back, Sankofa, if you will, to having priests and gurus and actual people who are knowledgeable in spiritual study help us figure out some of the things we can do to cleanse ourselves of this energy. This is the stuff that shamans would do. This is the work that a lot of ancients would do that we've lost touch with and lost sight of because religiously and spiritually, we feel it's so taboo to speak about these things. So if we have the synergy of those three things, I feel like mental health and spiritual well-being can be restored among artists.
Sunny D again. How you doing? I can speak personally for myself. Just recently, I dealt with depression. And as much music, sports and music was always my passion. So when it comes to the point where I didn't even want to do music anymore, it was just like, I know I'm at my lowest ever if I don't even want to get on the stage and play drums. Because in that moment, it's like people expect so much from you. And I'm always giving all of myself. So at my lowest, it's like, y'all don't see me suffering? Like, I don't have it to give no more. Like, that's just how I felt. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize.
Sometimes you just got to check on your strong friends. And that's why I appreciate DJ Geek so much. Last time I was here performing on a tour, she came through, we talked, and she said, I told her, like, yo, it's really bad. And she called me couple weeks later, like, yo, you know what? We're going to bring the female takeover back, because I took off for 2 years because it was all me. I'm putting out the money. I'm doing everything. So all the pressure was on me. Like, I can't keep doing this by myself. And she was like, I got you. We're going to do this together. And that lifted me, like, words can never express how grateful I am to her for helping me come out of that. You know, I still battle every now and then, but now I can say since January 6th, we've been doing the female takeover every month. Bringing women together, you know? So, yeah. Let me get off the mic before I cry.
Sonny, I love that. This is Solomon again. I feel like I deal with my mental health issues because we all have issues from time to time. You can be happy in moments, but it's not gonna last forever. But I deal with my mental health by doing Songs for the Soul, by doing my show. When I see all the people and like hanging out, singing, and everybody singing together. I do this show at this song at the beginning of the show. Black and brown and yellow is so beautiful. Black and brown and yellow is so beautiful. Everybody. Black and brown and yellow is so beautiful. Black and brown and yellow is so beautiful. And then I start twerking and like everybody's lit, is turned. And I'm so happy when I do this show. It's like a light. I feel like I'm a happy, sad person. Like I'm always like kind of sad. Like somewhere in my life, I'm just like, this is not right. Like I need to get this down. Like why is everything like not going well? And then like I look at my life and I'm like, okay, I'm ridiculous. And like I really need to just like be thankful. But the music, the art, I'm so thankful that I have music and art. Like, I literally don't know where I would be. And actually, I remember when I wasn't doing it, when I wasn't singing, when I wasn't a part of any shows, I was really in a bad way. Like, I think about myself at that time, and I'm just like, wow, I was, like, really on the cusp of, like, being crazy. Like, I feel like I'm kind of that way a little bit now, but, like, it was a little bit more. Like, I was really pushing it. Like, so I'm thankful for art, and I feel like we all feel the same way. Thankful for music and, like, what we produce. And just what's being produced in Philly. Like, I have Tea and Talk, Maya Simone. I love Maya Simone. She's lit. She has this show called Tea. It's like a show, but not really. It's just like having tea and like talking and like just hanging out with people. And then like she has like features and things like that. The Female Takeover, I haven't been, but I heard of you guys, and I just think it's lit. Like Green Soul having all these Black artists come and perform at their venue is just incredible to me. It's just so many great things happening in Philly, and I'm so thankful. I'm done.
So we want to make sure we open up the stage, because this isn't us just talking to them and talking at you. This is family. We don't have a big enough dining room table for all of us to sit at. So I want to make sure that, if you have a question or you have a comment, let's do it. Let's go. I'm walking now. You're going to take this mic.
I'm gonna take this. I'm not scared of a mic anyway, because I use the mic all the time at WURD. You know, I do a show basically at WURD. We do it on a show on Fridays at 10 to 12. It's called Freedom Sounds of Jazz. But I'm an alumni of Temple University School of Communications.
TU?
And radio, TV, and films, I started back in 1980 at WRTI. And we started a program called The Point. But nevertheless, I've been into the music industry a lot. I gotta go to a show tomorrow. Anyway, I'm going to speak to the audience up there. I like the conversation. I have a lot of updating information for the older people. I came from the old school with the old jazz musicians like Philly Joe Jones, if you're a drummer, or Elvin Jones, another
Question,
drummer.
brother, question.
You know, see, I've been in the school of music for over half my life, you know. But as I say, I learned at WRTI. It was a school for me to learn the music, learn the musicians, and I go out and be with the musicians. When you first started out as a disc jockey of the old school, you just don't play records at WRTI and think you're doing a good show. It's not like that. You play the records, but you got to take yourself with a tape recorder or go out there to the clubs like the Uptown, or you go down to the Clef Club, which was the old one. Mm-hmm. You know, they had the new one on Broad Street, but the old one. Then you had Peps. What I have for y'all crew there, you know, I like with your hospitality, and you got to teach me something because I'm gonna learn the newer stuff. I just made a new recording at a class not too long ago, and I recorded called "The Freedom Sounds of Jazz," and it's rap in it, and it's harmony and all that good stuff. I have it on tape, you know. It sounds good, so I'm waiting till they can take it and get it copyrighted.
All right. So let me ask y'all this then.
Well,
A new song that you would put everybody on to.
Hold on, because I usually, before we do Q&A, I usually do a little PSA.
All right, come through.
And I break down, as a professor, the difference between a question, a soliloquy, a dissertation, and a testimony. Hallelujah. Today we want questions, and we want you all to be mindful of the difference between a question. Whew, okay, I just feel for the good of the order.
It's a question.
Decent and in order.
All right, I'm gonna come back.
I appreciate
Let me
the
go
history
here.
lesson, but I said, my gosh, man.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, thank y'all. I mean, I'm telling you, I've really been uplifted. But my question is, you know, I was hearing the source, and there was this young lady on there. She was a junior, and she had made a comment about how the music, they don't want it to be stolen from, let's say, y'all. And I asked the question, what do you mean by that? And she was saying how the industry or whoever that make money from what y'all do, and y'all don't get a chance to make money because of the other folks in the industry is taking and making the money. Are y'all experiencing that?
I don't necessarily make music, so I can't speak to that personal experience. But I think, and other people jump in, I think one of the things that we are experiencing right now is that there's a shift in where the money is being made. And even in the industry, they're noticing like a lot of the money is in the concerts, and it's not just in, clearly it's not in CD sales anymore, right? So everything's digital. And then you had like the epic moments where Chance the Rapper is finally nominated for a Grammy based on his music being on a digital stream, right? So you have all of these things that are changing, and I think it's just another moment where we have to figure it out, because if the marketing teams figure it out before we do, then they'll win. And so I think it's like music is ever changing. We gotta stay ahead of it. financially also. And there's also, I think, a nice movement to just own your music. And everybody's not going to sign a deal because there have been so many ways that technology, whether you like it or not, have opened the opportunity for people to get their things out there without having to wait on a deal. And so it's kind of a battle between doing it, but if you're going to do it the right way. Because, yeah, they have a lot of streaming platforms, don't pay you a lot. Even if you upload, you don't get a lot of money off of those streams. But there's still some power in still owning your own stuff.
I'll put a spin on that question, right? Because you are providing the platforms for the artists who make the music. Marvin Gaye once said in an interview, same time frame, 1983, he was speaking about disc jockeys, DJs, back then, and he said, they tamper with artists' music, especially on the radio. And he said, I'd rather you not play my music than to change my art. I'm thinking about the DJs in this moment, DJ Reezy, DJ Geek. How do you walk that fine line of respecting the artist's work and also serving your audience and kind of putting your own signature sound on the experience that you're delivering?
I think there are different, I think there are different types of DJs or different types of ways that you can DJ. And I think you gotta know what's appropriate when. And so when I'm playing music for an artist, if I respect that my point here is to introduce you to the music, I'm not gonna tamper with it because I'm introducing you to what someone created. And so it's not for me to scratch a lot or do the most. Some DJs get into doing, and that's just my personal opinion, they start doing the most, running it back 14 times. We didn't ask you to do that, I was trying to sing it. And you interrupted my song. But I think you gotta know time and place. So if you're in a DJ competition where the point, or you are hired as the artist, where the point is to manipulate, then you respect that as a time and a place. But if I'm using my platform as just that, a platform for other artists, I'm not gonna use that as an opportunity to do the most because I wanna leave it pure to what you're hearing, because I don't want you to get the album and it not sound like what I played, right? And then you like, oh, I like her version, like I don't want that competition. So I respect time and place. It's not always time to get crazy with the turntables on somebody's music. You sometimes, if you're introducing people to it, you gotta let it be its raw stuff. And that's when you need to learn how to blend. And some of them don't be learning how to blend right. And that's when they feel like they gotta do the most because they can't just put two songs together seamlessly in the first place. That's my 2 cents, though.
Just as being a musician, I can say being a part of bands or hearing different bands playing, some people, they'll play a song and you be like, what in the world was that? That didn't sound nothing like that song. So I've learned to play the music. As a drummer, when I hear a song, I'm learning the music. I feel like after playing, like say, if you come see me play at the same place week after week after week and we're playing a set, you're pretty, okay, they're pretty good, you're comfortable with that. Then you can start, okay, adding little changes to it. You can remix it just a little, but you never want to go so far off you don't recognize the song. I've had touring musicians tell us that, like introducing a original song. Okay, y'all adding this, but if this their first time hearing you play this, when they listen to that album, are they going, is this the same song? Play the song. You know what? Noted. You're right. I'm a play the song, and then as you progress and people get to know you, then you can start tweaking things. So that's my take from a musician standpoint.
Question over here.
Good evening. It's more of a comment. Earlier, I believe it was DJ Reezy, you mentioned that in Louisiana, they've outlawed sagging pants.
Yes.
Well, I just wanted to mention that I just heard today that they've arrested over 600 black people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sagging pants.
Yeah, they've outlawed it. It's a law, and they have actually arrested people for it. Black people.
Thank you for doing that. I just dig the hole, but I'm not trying to get that deep. I appreciate it.
Let's go. We have a comment question over here.
Hi, I would like to say that I identify with Sunny. I'm 22 and I deal with a mood disorder every single day. It's really hard, but I just want to know, like, how can I connect with you and make sure that you're not just that strong friend like I am, and I'm not by myself.
We can, hey. We can, I give you my number, we can exchange info, and yeah.
Y'all gonna make me drop a tear. This is why we family. This is why.
Got another question right here?
Yeah.
And thank you also, Sonny, for being very real with that. Just to keep on with that, I think it's very instructive how you also testified how it was your friend, our producer here, and I'm sorry, sister, who stepped in and furthered your vision, and that lifted you up. And so my question is, to the extent that we pursue our art in a very Eurocentric frame, in that we're very kind of separated from each other, we're siloed off. This paradox of the artist as kind of just doing their own self, doing them, and at the same time, an African artist is always tied to the community. So how do we represent what this represents? The beauty of what you shared, the beauty of what Dr. Smith and all of us, our folks are sharing. This is representing Black radio, academia, this venue, these artists. That's African. So how do we represent that so that you're not isolated, and so that the art is always going to be supported, because it's always tied to community, right? I'll give you one quick example. When I was active with the Bar Association, we had the Black lawyers. We always had Black artists. When I had my convention, we had Black artists come through, all musicians, artists, painters. That was natural. That was African. How do we duplicate that so that you're always connected and you're always healthy in mind and spirit?
So I'm going to start with your last comment. I think other communities book themselves. Like, oh, my homie do that. Let me get him. We should just do that. Like, when you get in position, like if you work in a corporate space, go book the people that you know, right? Like, I know sometimes you got to go through the motion. You got to get 4 or 5 quotes, right? And then land on the one, right? Let's just do what other communities do for each other. We wonder how they keep getting all these contracts. We confused. We know what they're doing. But to your first point, I think, and appreciating and loving Sonny, I think the first point was that our engagement in our community must be transparent enough that you can just say how you feel. You don't have to cry. You don't have to explain. I remember that conversation. Sonny didn't tell me what was wrong. She just was like, I'm not okay right now. And that's enough. Like, I'm not going to go prying into what's going on. I see a difference in you. And I think if we get to a place where we can just state the feeling, like so much we feel and we never say it because we think it's going to be too much that comes after I say it. Like, I have to have in my relationships with my community an opportunity to just say, I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed, I'm sad. And I don't have to preface it or explain it. I just have to say it. And then when you say it, it's my job as your sister to recognize that and say, now let me use what I know about you to help bring you back to what you feel. So I think that's something that we do for each other, right? Like, she'll say to me, when we doing the next party? Like, you took too many months off. When's the next one, right? And just stating our feelings, first of all, in our community, just say it. Like, if you feel something, just say it without having to explain. But then from there, take care of each other. It was a sacrifice. It was a moment where we both started putting up money. And at that point, I looked at her and I said, this is something that I think is important. So we're going to both invest in this together. And it became a partnership. But I'm following your lead because this is your baby. But I'm going to sacrifice for the greater good of the community and for the greater good of my homie to make sure that this gets done.
Hi, everybody. It's my name's Alexa, and it is definitely an honor to be here and to listen to you all. Some of you I know, some I don't, but it's definitely been very informative, and it's given me some perspective, being a person that was born and raised in Philly, as well as being an artist in Philly. And one of the things that I wanted to ask a question to get your perspective on was industry and our perception of industry, because we talk about that in Philly as if we don't have an industry here. And for me, before we talk about what is like a mainstream industry, like record labels and all of that, industry usually starts on the grassroots level. It's usually what you all are doing, which is having an idea, you know, putting in the work to see it through to fruition, creating an event, bringing people in, and allowing it to grow. And when we talk about mental health and all of that, you know, you are basically like these foundations, you know, these really incredible safety nets for people to come through and express themselves and to release and get that form of self-care that they need. But one of those aspects that I think about a lot of times is the financial aspect of it. And as people who have been hired to do shows, as well as, you know, people who have created events that may hire people, how do you make that work in terms of making sure people are taken care of and making sure that you are taken care of on that level? Because it's so important. I mean, I love what I do, you know, and I'm sure as artists, you all love what you do, but at the end of the day, we all gotta eat, we all gotta like live, you know? So how do you take care of the artists around you in a way that's practical?
I can speak on the female takeover. When I started that, it wasn't about me making money. It was about the artist. Because being a musician, I've seen how promoters and everything take advantage of artists. They want you to sell tickets for an event, do this, and then they want a cut of what you sold. Like, I put the hard work and got these people to come, and now you want a cut of this? So I said, I'm not gonna do that, even though I do have my artists sell tickets, but guess what? You keep whatever you sell. You put their hard work in, you keep that. I don't want none of that. I do have bills and this and that to pay, but okay. So if I have to pay for a venue or whatever, or maybe not, like what's at the door, that comes into the other bills of the event. But as far as artists, you get that's all you. Because I've been taken advantage of as a musician, like, okay, so now the artist only made this, so now we all gotta split this. It's 5 of us. Like, what, we get $20? I done played an hour set for $20. Like, no, so it's about the artist.
I think on that, because it's for artists by artists, like, she gonna sell her tickets, I'm gonna sell my tickets, and we just end it together. So we get tickets to sell just like everybody else on the show. So a lot of people don't run events like that, where they see themselves like, it's my job to promote and get people here just as much as it is for the people that are gonna hit the stage, because we're all participating in this. And I think that's the difference when it's for artists by artists. There's no person that really has no point involved to just take money for nothing. And that's why we feel like we can share it, because I'm doing my part, you doing your part.
When I was DJing full time, it was a struggle and a challenge, because I'm trying to make sure I meet the person where their budget fits, and that I'm also trying to make sure that I'm accounted for. And at the same time, as a DJ, among most of my friends, I would organize at least like every 3 months a big dinner with all of my friends that were artists, just so that, you know, we could come together in a space outside of us doing our art. So that was a pretty interesting spiritual time for me. Yeah, and so the advice that I would give now that I'm like not DJing full time and I had time to take a step away from it is, one, you have to be in 2 positions as one person. You have to be your artist and your manager, and you give your soul to people, and then as soon as you're done, it's like, so what's up, how are you? Yeah, this person, i.e. yourself, costs this much, da-da-da-da-da. You have to, like, you know, be 2 positions for one person. The second is that I'm not willing to compromise my art, so I could DJ and travel and tour and become industrial, but I would rather be in the underground community organizing spaces. And so because of that, that means that my spirit is calling me to those places, but not necessarily in that way. So I can take my work and become an independent contractor for a nonprofit organization where I'm doing the same spirit work that I would be doing as an artist, but not getting paid as I would be as that artist. So again, 2 positions, 1 person, and thinking differently about how to communicate what your spirit needs to community as a different type of professional in order for you to meet your financial needs. That would be the advice I would give. Finances are something else.
I'm just like, why am I spending so much money? Like, of my own money. In the beginning, it wasn't about money, and I still feel like it's not so much about money. I try not to focus too hard on it, but I'm like, I still have to make money if I'm doing it and putting all of my might and energy into this thing. So I was like, instead of charging, I don't want to say overcharging, because I feel like I really do all that I can so that the audience is gratified and uplifted, and they feel like full once they leave. But I was like, I don't want to charge people so much where they feel like that I'm going to be breaking their bank. So I was like, I just got to apply for grants. Make it simple on myself. Make it because I have to pay people, and also redesigning. Like I was like, I have to reevaluate what I'm doing here if I'm not making money, and all these people are coming to my show. Like I have maybe too many people that I'm paying. So it's those things, really like looking at that. But my artists come first. The people that I work with, I am very loyal to. I make sure they're paid right away, my musicians, everybody. But yeah, basically is getting grants and like just seeing other ways to, having merch and things like that. Finding other ways to make money outside of just doing the show.
I have one more thing to say. Sometimes you gotta have that 9 to 5.
Okay.
You gotta have that 9 to 5 to pay until your passion can pay for itself. You gotta do what you gotta do. Right. I do security, full-time security officer, to make sure that I could do what I gotta do. I do my and it doesn't interfere. As long as it doesn't interfere with my music, I'm good. I'll be like, hey, I got a week. I'll be out the country, but I'll be back. Like, you gotta do what you gotta do to survive out here, and I still gotta work.
Sorry, last thing on that. On that note, like, follow your heart, because the job that will let you be your artist will find you if you follow your heart. So I think me and Sunny are in the same boat. Like, blessed to find a day job that appreciates me as an artist, that lets me do what I have to do for that, because they also appreciate what I bring to their company. And that's the crucial piece, is follow your heart. And like he said, put the energy into work where the same spirit work is being done in a different way, so it all still feels good for you, right? But I think the last thing is, we gotta make sure we're presenting ourselves appropriately on a marketing team. Like, when you that second person, you can't send emails that don't get. So how many people are putting on shows that are sponsored? And how many times do we not get the sponsorship because we never even get to the meeting because we didn't present ourselves in the conversation? We didn't know what we were talking about, right? But getting the venue sponsored, getting certain things sponsored, and learning how venues need to make money so that you can then propose to them what they need, and then they gotta bring you back because you already gave them what they needed, and it's a benefit for both sides. So it's a lot of different industries you gotta figure out at once.
I have a final question in the back. I hear we have to wrap up soon. We have time for one more question.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank all you guys for participating in this forum. Whoever came up with this idea, I think it's a great idea, and deserves of a round of applause for whoever came up with the idea and for you guys participating and you guys putting it together. I really miss you, man. And my name is Abdul. I'm an ethnomusicologist, and we study people and their music. And so the thing I just wanted to add, because we talk about a lot of stuff this evening, and I really appreciate it, especially when you talk about giving love to the drum, because I'm a drummer too, and I really appreciate it. But I just wanted to say that as an African American, it always helped to know our history, remember our history, because whatever we do, it's like we have obligations. So my comment is just remember that if we're African American, we were taken from Africa, and we owe it to like our ancestors to never forget, And so whatever we do forward, we sort of always try to remind people as much as we can, because that's something that we owe it to our ancestors, because otherwise for them we won't be here. So that's the one thing I would like to say, and I appreciate you guys.
We got a minute or so if somebody wants to respond. Okay, sure.
In the middle?
Oh, that was just a comment. I got you.
Thank you. I'll be quick, I promise. I've noticed that it's a young person in the audience, a youth, and a lot of you mentioned something about you being an educator. And I just wanted to know, because I am a mom and I'm in education as well, what do you say to the young person, the young you, who never probably thought you'd be in these seats having this conversation with us? What do you say to a young person who doesn't know this sort of the work you do exists, doesn't know how to even get on a stage to kind of talk about themselves and be themselves? What do you say to that young person?
Keep this short.
If adults knew what they were doing, they wouldn't be trying to solve the problems they're trying to solve. So your ego is valid. Your ego is valid. If you are a young person, you feeling the way you feel about the world and you not listening, and your rebellion is necessary, because older folks have lost their fight. Older folks have lost their fearlessness. Older folks have lost this innate passion to just not care because they've gotten comfortable with what's been given to them, because they've, so understand that and take that into your passion. And life will discipline you, so don't worry about that. Trust.
So we got to get ready to wrap this up.
That wasn't for y'all old heads.
Oh no, we got time afterwards, because we do have to make sure we got this space.
We're gonna keep the party going.
They're gonna be around for you to talk and light
I'm
fire
here. What's
under
up?
whoever you need to light fire under. Kayla, I wanted to close out with you, okay? And I want to take a moment to thank the Barnes Foundation, to thank Moravia Health, Pico, Comcast. Can we give all of them a round of applause?
Shouts out to sponsors.
So this is a WURD event, right? We're Black Talk Radio.
Yes, we are.
I want to ask you particularly, as a midday producer who works hard to curate the soundtrack to our lives and the topics most important to our community, what would you like to see either change with the radio platform or the way in which we use it as a social impact tool?
I would like to see us reach outside our box. As African Americans, we have a tendency to think that we only can play one certain type of music, we can only listen to one type of music, but music is universal. So let's go outside of our box and not just play good oldies. Let's go outside our box and not just play hip hop. Let's not let those two genres be our story. Let's reach out to the Black country stars and the Black folk stars and the Black pop stars and let them write our story as well.
Ashe.
That's how we get to know what's going on. So thank you all. The rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith. I'm your host, sincerely, your co-host, co-moderator, sincerely, Syreeta. Shout out to Josh Duncan, program director. Someone asked about this idea and bringing us all together. Josh had a big part of that, but we gotta go. So thank you. Can we give all of our panelists a round of applause?
Woo! Round of applause
For their expertise.
What's going on?